Welcome to the next episode of Sparkcast. I'm joined by
Thomas.
King of Braves, Sammy Gar.
We have a special treat for everybody today. We are listening to an audio cassette, and not just any audio cassette from Transformers. We are listening to a UK audio cassette. What do I know about this project? Absolutely nothing at all. Can't figure out who wrote it or voiced the audio cassette, other than that it was made by Ditto Children's Series.
So are you just saying that this was just like some renegade project, not officially licensed? And
Oh no, it's
record
officially
at all.
Licensed, I'm sure. Outsourced to some company to sell the different things. I don't know. Yeah, copyright.
So it was just a tape
Hasbro
that
and
was on the
Sunbow
shelf. Did it come
Productions.
with like a particular toy or book or something?
Nope, it just came with two stories, one on each side. We're listening to the first side, Terror of Mount Sheelah. But before I begin, there's something I've been wanting to tell all of you that I just can't wrap my brain around before we start. You guys know Transformers 3, the live action movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not. I don't remember that at all.
Disappointment from Sammy. Wow. I bought the Blu-ray for like
Why?
$5.
Disappointed.
Why?
And it was just the movie. I'm like, where's the special features?
Oh no, Blu-rays don't do that anymore. DVDs don't do that anymore. Special features are a thing of the past.
But this is, 6 years ago. So I look online and there's a 3D Blu-ray version. And you have to buy the 3D version of the movie to get the special features. So I ordered that on Amazon because I gotta have everything complete. And guess what's inside this 3D movie for Transformers?
A turd.
It's it's 3 discs. There's Blu-ray 3D Transformers 3, regular Blu-ray Transformers 3D, and regular F and Blu-ray special features that they didn't include in any Blu-ray copy ever. You had to buy the 3D version to get it. It is the stupidest level of marketing I've ever seen.
That is actually really stupid.
So they were encouraging people to buy the 3D Blu-ray to get the regular Blu-ray special features, and the regular Blu-ray does not carry them anywhere in the planet Earth.
That seems like a scam.
You might not even have a 3D Blu-ray player, so why would you even want to buy it? The marketing stupidity astounds me on this movie. So that's all. That's my gripe for today. This disc has been sitting here for me to rant about it for like a few weeks since I bought it. That's all. So now we can continue with our regularly scheduled program, unless somebody has any comments about that.
Nope. I'm sorry for your loss.
That's why I never really could get into the idea of getting a bunch of digital media, physical media, because it was just a disaster from the start. Like, I feel like it was even like that in the DVD days, where like the rights holders were constantly changing. And I guess I'm mostly coming from the perspective of anime, where I tried to get all of Ranma on a box set, but then before it was all released by Viz, it was being put out by other companies. So I have like seasons like 1 through 5, and then everything else after that is just a completely different physical form, and it just looks terrible.
I'm like, I know I have that super OCD too, but I haven't had it happen too much with anime, but with manga from like early 2000s, late 90s, that just kept switching hands a million times.
Yeah, I hate how different companies. Like, I watched this cartoon called Cops that I bought, and the first third of the series was released by one company, and it had every single PSA, special features, and then another company got it 5 years later because they never finished putting out the series, and it's just a plain disc with 2 separate DVDs to buy the whole series, not a single special feature whatsoever. And it's like they don't, like, a lot of times people just don't transfer the special features from company to company, including like audio commentary for some things. Like, I have 2 anime I can't remember where there's like an audio commentary from the English dub people, but since it went to another company, they just were like, well, we don't need those people's dubs on this audio commentary. And I'm like, well, it's not even on there. So then I just kept both versions of the DVD, put them in the same disc.
Yeah, I feel like it's even an issue with companies that have the rights throughout, because sometimes, I've looked at DVDs and noticed how they all have all these audio features and stuff, but then the same company will then put out the Blu-ray, and then some of the just random stuff will just be missing for some reason.
Yes.
So yeah, so the only way to have it complete is to get the DVD version. That's going to be a completely different like quality, and then try to watch that and like on your 4K TV, and just like
It was pretty nice though. I just watched Got Perfect Blue on Blu-ray, and every special feature from the original DVD a decade ago is also on this Blu-ray, even though it's a completely different company that put it out. That was nice to see.
there is a particular anime company that they're basically like the Criterion of like anime. You know,
Sentai Filmworks has been doing that a lot lately. They collect like sometimes two separate dubs. Like they'll give you the UK and another English dub, or there's
and then,
another
like,
one I
all
have.
the different like
Yeah,
you know, ads and releases and like audio and stuff like that.
yeah, and like there's another one like called like Area 88. I was watching the DVD or the Blu-ray release that just came out last year comes with the original dub as well as a new dub that was made 6 years later from a completely different cast by a different company, and they just included all of it.
That's
That's
cool.
really nice.
Well, yeah, I just wish that kind of stuff was just like you have all this stuff, just put it out there, sell
I
it.
mean,
It's a way to
don't-
sell your
don't-
stuff.
Don't get me started on how I will never see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 2003 series, on a DVD box set because of these rights issues.
Because now Nickelodeon has the rights to it, and they're just not going to do it because they're working on their own series.
I don't even know. I don't even know if Nickelodeon has it or if Duart still has it, or Konami or whatever. Like it is in such limbo.
That's what I never understand about Spider-Man either. Like none of its shows are on DVD in a complete series, like ever. Like
It's so
3
weird.
of the whole series out of like 8 of them you can buy as a DVD box set or something, and not a single one of them has been released on Blu-ray except Spectacular Spider-Man, probably because they knew it would actually sell.
Oof. It's all weird. Like it's so easy to make DVDs or even digital stuff that's like why? Why not just do it? Like there's no reason not to. Slap it on a DVD. Like there's nothing to it. You have the material.
Like even the Transformers box set I have, since it's the second release, I have no idea if the decade or 15-year ago release from like 2002 and Shout Factory has other special features that are missing from this one or not. So I'd have to do some research, but luckily, like with a property like Transformers, everyone has already documented the differences for you. But most of the time, you won't know that. Let's go back to a simpler time when all you had was story beginning and story end. And
It wasn't that simple because there was a side A and a side B.
Yeah, you have to flip that tape.
you already flipped records previously in the last generation, so this was just, the same thing. So you didn't have to learn anything new. You were just flipping vertically instead of horizontally. The cassette tape was actually called The Transformers, Robots in Disguise, The Battle for Earth. And the Battle for Earth encompassed both of these stories, which was Terror of Mount Sheelah and Bumblebee to the Rescue. Though we're going to be listening to Terror of Mount Sheelah, and it's spelled Sheelah. Play it up, Maestro.
Terror of Mount Sheelah. Many years ago, a race of robots called Autobots were forced to wage a war against another robot race called Decepticons. This was in order to bring peace to their home planet of Cybertron. The war ranged far and wide through space, and chance brought them close to Earth, where in their ferocious tussle, they both crashed so violently that all the robots lay buried in the Earth's crust, seemingly without life. 4 million years later, in our time, energy set in motion by a powerful volcanic eruption gives them life again, and the war starts up once more here on Earth. But now Not only do the Autobots have to defend themselves against the unscrupulous Decepticons, but also swear to protect this planet Earth with all its resources and its inhabitants from them. At the same time,
I do not like this
they must
guy
also
narrating.
try to build a new spaceship so that one day they can return to Cybertron. Because of their ability to appear as either robot or vehicle, they are called the Transformers.
That
Now,
doesn't make any sense.
terror of Mount Sheelah. Leaving most of their
They were already
colonies
called
to guard the
Transformers
Ark
before they
in
landed.
Mount St. Hilary, a half-dozen or so Autobots under the command of their leader, Optimus Prime, had set off on a scouting mission. They were desperately searching for a source of energy that would enable them to rebuild their starship to make the return to Cybertron. They had transformed and moved thousands of miles in their search. Now they were in the wild, deserted countryside of Central South America. With them, to guide and advise, were two Earth people with whom they had struck up a great friendship. They were the brothers John and Tim Gordon, both
John and
physicists and
Tim?
geographical experts.
John
And
and
both
Tim.
were now riding in Huffer's cab across the rough countryside. The hot sun
I'm assuming
beat
they're
down
South
on the
American?
Autobot convoy. Huffer, as usual, was grumbling.
Ugh,
Travel,
not
travel, always on the move. I suppose they think I need exercise. John
Yes,
smiled.
you've
He knew
been-
Huffer's reputation and love of a good grumble. You know, Optimus
What?
Prime feels it's absolutely top priority to find the energy source.
Oh god, it's a Southern or
Yes,
South
not
American.
only to rebuild the Ark, but
Yeah,
to
I
use
was gonna
against
say,
the
are these guys from
Decepticons.
Central America
Tim
or
added.
something?
I know, Huffer grumbled. And to be able to bargain with them to persuade them to leave Earth as well. I wouldn't be sorry to see them go, Tim added. They don't care what damage they cause. And so the Autobots steadily continued on their way. Optimus Prime, Jazz, Sideswipe, Gears, Sunstreaker, and Ratchet. Suddenly, Huffer came
None
to a
of the
standstill.
important Autobots.
Within seconds, the
My
other
two
Autobots
most
had
hated
gathered
characters
round.
are in this.
John and Tim stepped down from Huffer's cab. The Autobots all transformed. What's the matter, Huffer? Asked Jazz. You tired of something? Not too tired
tired
to see
of something?
something, Huffer replied. I saw something just now. A lizard, but I didn't stop to tell everybody, Gears complained. Optimus Prime interrupted.
That's
What
important.
did you see, Huffer? Huffer turned to his leader. Thank goodness somebody can take an intelligent interest. Yes, but what did you see? Inquired Sunstreaker. Huffer pointed. Look over there, in the far distance on the horizon.
Oh
What is
my
it?
God, this voice.
They all followed Huffer's gaze. Then John, shielding his eyes from the bright sunlight, said, It's a volcano. So that's a volcano, said Jazz. I know a
Volcano.
volcanic eruption was responsible for our release, but I didn't know what an actual volcano looked like.
You live under
Why
one!
is it shaped like that? Asked Sunstreaker. Tim explained how after an eruption, the lava flow builds up into a cone,
Is this an
and at the top of the
educational
cone there is
tape?
a great crater. He went on to tell them that sometimes a volcano rests quietly for years, and suddenly erupts with tremendous force and power, throwing
Yeah, this
lava
is
and great
definitely
stones from the crater,
a lot of
tumble
extra
down the
detail.
volcano's sides to enlarge the cone.
We got 20 minutes to fill, okay, guys?
They all listened with interest.
Get back to the robots.
Then Optimus Prime commented, The longer I am on your Earth, the stranger it becomes. But it must be a tremendous source of energy to cause an eruption like that. Almost beyond imagination when it does erupt, Tim replied. Huffer grumbled. I don't suppose it ever erupts, so let's not waste time talking about it. Let's
Guess
get
what?
on.
It's probably gonna erupt.
It was you that stopped in the first place, complained Gears. I knew I would do something wrong, Huffer muttered. Then Optimus Prime said, Let's go and look at it. With all that power there, it might be useful to us. John
An
turned to
active
him.
volcano.
We on Earth have never found a way to harness the power. Optimus Prime replied gently, I like you Earth people. Well, most of them. But could I respectfully suggest that your technical science is light years behind us from Cybertron? John and Tim both smiled. They knew the Autobot leader spoke the truth. Then Optimus Prime asked, But tell me, does this particular volcano often erupt? The two brothers spent a few minutes studying their
Only
maps
when the
and
plot
references.
suggests it.
Finally, Tim said,
Yeah.
That, in fact, appears to be Mount Sheelah, a volcano that erupts quite frequently.
Oh.
John, who had been poring over other references and papers, added, As a matter of interest, an eruption has been expected for some months there now.
Is
Let's go
Sunstreaker
and
and
look.
Ratchet ever going to talk?
Now, Optimus Prime ordered. Transform! Within moments, John and Tim were back in Huffer's cab, and they were all heading toward the distant
They have to put up with Hover for a whole fucking day's journey.
In the
Oh my
meantime,
god. Day's
back in
journey.
the awesome Decepticon fortress, things were happening.
I would have killed myself.
I was
The
wondering,
tyrannical
where are the
leader,
Decepticons? Because
Megatron,
this whole
was
thing
carefully
sounds like a
studying a
Decepticon
report
plan,
brought in
like
by
harnessing
Laserbeak.
the energy of a volcano.
Eventually, he spoke.
Yeah.
Well done, Laserbeak. Good work and very interesting, but a little puzzling, too. What is it, Megatron? Asked Starscream. Laserbeak has discovered that self-righteous Autobot leader Optimus Prime has set off with 5 others of his group and 2 Earth people, and
they
are at
lost
this
one along
moment
the
in
way.
Central South America. Skywarp snarled. That's good news. Very good
hope they
news.
lost
Only
Gears
6
along
of them.
the way and he
Let's
fell
go
into
and
the
destroy
volcano.
them now. Come on, let's go. Wait. I am your leader, snapped Megatron. You will do as I say. We will investigate. No, let's go now, Skywarp argued. And what if it's a trap? What will you do, eh? Skywarp did not answer. That is why I am your leader, snapped Megatron. Ravage said, I know Hound and all the other Autobots are still in the Ark on the mountain because I have been spying. I wonder why these 6 are in South America, Megatron said. We shall find
6
out.
again.
Rumble, Starscream, Buzzsaw, Soundwave, Skywarp, Laserbeak, come with me.
Oh,
The rest
God.
of you stay here. We shall find out what is happening in South America. The Decepticons rose in the air at high speed, and Laserbeak led them to the bleak, deserted volcanic region of America. Meanwhile, the 6 Autobots, with
Wait.
John and Tim, got nearer to the volcano.
He said of America,
The closer
right?
they approached it, the more difficult it
No,
became
did he
to
say
progress.
Sunstreak? Or
Gears lifted some of the stones and rocks out of the way, grumbling that it was always him who had to do the hard work. Sideswipe told him, You were even more miserable than Huffer, if that is possible. It's all right for you lot, Gears moaned, hauling a particularly large rock out of their path. All you do is watch me work. It's hard work watching you work, Jazz said. John and Tim smiled. They enjoyed the mock rivalry between the Autobots, but knew how loyal they really were to each other. Soon they started to climb up the sides of the volcano, and all except Gears and Sideswipe found it easier to transform to their robot selves because of the hard going. John and Tim had the easiest time as they were
small
carried by
cars
one
can
or other of the
go up
Autobots.
mountains.
Eventually, they all reached the top and stood gazing down into the steaming, evil-looking, bubbling crater. Fantastic, exclaimed Optimus Prime. The power that must be down there surely can be harnessed in some way. They remained on the crater edge, looking and wondering. There was a low, rumbling sound, and the volcano seemed to tremble a little, and the bubbling increased for a moment. John caught Tim's eye. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? He said.
Yes,
Tim
push him.
nodded, then said, Optimus, I have a funny feeling this is going to erupt soon.
Wait for
That
Huffer
would
to
be
transform,
wonderful,
then push him into the
Optimus Prime
volcano.
replied. Then we can see it firsthand, the available power, and if there is any way it can be harnessed for our uses. John and Tim looked worried. They were not too keen to be about if the volcano did decide to erupt. Tim said quietly, Well, we're all right for a while, John. But another rumble was heard. The volcano shook again. I hope so, John said. While all this was taking place, the Decepticon patrol was swiftly approaching. Eventually, Laserbeak gave a screech and indicated that they were in the vicinity of the Autobots. Keep out of sight and sound, Megatron ordered. You, Laserbeak, get in
But he
as
just
close
gave a
as you can,
screech.
and try not to be observed, and bring us back a full report of where they are and what they are doing. Starscream said, We could wipe them out now! Strike while the enemy isn't looking! If we destroy their leader, they will be lost! Interesting, Megatron replied with sarcasm. So if I, your leader, am ever destroyed, you'll all be lost without me, eh? Starscream didn't answer. All the Decepticons knew how ambitious he was to replace Megatron as leader. Megatron continued, Your silence is intriguing. Do I take it that your loyalty is doubtful, or that you agree that my absence would be painful? But before Starscream could reply, Laserbeak returned with his report. He transformed into his other disguise as an audio cassette. Soundwarp slotted the cassette into his own playback system, and they all listened to Laserbeak's observations. Then Megatron said, I wonder what this mountain with a hole in its top is, and why it sends out steam like that. Why is Optimus Prime and his team there? Buzzsaw said, I wonder why they are all standing at the top and looking down into it. Megatron mused. Then we must find out. It must be something of use to them, or they wouldn't be wasting their time out in this godforsaken land gazing into it. And Skywarp added, If it is of use to the Autobots, it will be of use to us, the Decepticons. Exactly, Megatron agreed. Exactly so. Starscream said quietly, Then we do as I suggested in the first place. Destroy them. Megatron sounded annoyed. Yes,
Starscream's voice
with
is really-
reservations. What reservations? It was Rumble, who had remained fairly quiet until now. We pounce on them as unexpectedly as possible, but try not to destroy the two Earth people. Why not? Starscreech demanded. They are obviously helping the Autobots and are of use to them, so... His voice trailed off.
Agreed.
Megatron sighed. I think it may have dawned on even you. They can be of use to us instead.
There are
Earth people
millions
are
of
not
other people
strong
that still don't.
physically. I am sure we can persuade them to give us particulars of the mountains they are studying. Buzzsaw commented, If we go in at them with all weapons blazing, it would be difficult not to destroy the Earthmen, too. Megatron said, Then that will be unfortunate. Our first priority is to obliterate those stupid Autobots and take their place at the top of the mountain. Second, if possible, to take the Earth people and force them to tell us all about it. Excellent thinking, Chief. You are right as usual. Rumble said, as always anxious to be in his leader's
Oh
good
my
books.
god.
Then Megatron gave the command. Attack! So the Decepticons swooped in on the unsuspecting Autobots, who were still at the crater's edge, looking down at it, completely fascinated. It was Jazz who first became aware of them. Don't look now, you guys, but we've got trouble. Within seconds, there was chaos on the crater's edge. Thanks to Jazz's warning and Optimus Prime's quick thinking, the Autobots were able to return enough fire to make the Decepticons take slight evasive action, so that their missiles either went into the crater or further on. Megatron snapped an order. All Decepticons report in robotic form on opposite edge of crater to enemies.
Jesus.
The order was obeyed instantly.
Is it just
Pretty
me
much.
or the
But if we
dialogue
go in
between
blindly, there
the
is no doubt we
Transformers
shall
seems
destroy the
really,
Earth
really
people.
verbose?
And now I have seen this place, I realize we do need their
They have
knowledge
20
of it.
minutes to fill.
What is your plan, Megatron? Asked Skywarp.
That's a good Starscream
Megatron
voice,
replied,
right?
We have superior weaponry and numbers. We can slowly pick them off from here, one by one. They also have the added problem of protecting the two Earth people. And as if to demonstrate, he fired off his nuclear-charged fusion cannon in the direction of the Autobots. He was immediately answered by a blast from Jazz's fuel-firing power. Optimus Prime kept John and Tim behind him for protection. Sporadic firing took place. The ground shook, and both John and Tim pulled at Optimus' module. For a moment he seemed annoyed. What is it? Tim spoke first. We must all get down from here as quickly as we can. Optimus fired a round from his laser rifle. I know you must be afraid, Tim. I'm sorry we have placed you in this position. You two clamber down as well as you can, and we shall stay here and fight these fiendish enemies from our own planet. We are not scared of them. Well, not very. Not while you're here. But we have all got to get down now, Tim said. More vicious firing came from the direction of the Decepticons. Optimus Prime returned some fire and then said, No Autobot ever runs away from Decepticons. John looked pleadingly. Optimus, please. Optimus sounded unusually vexed and snapped, No, we
Bloodthirsty
shall not
Optimus.
retreat. More exchanges of fire took place.
Not my
across the crater.
hero.
The sound was terrifying. The very earth trembled. Then John very firmly said, Optimus Prime, I appeal to you.
Oh god, just tell him
We
you
have
see
helped
this
you on
interrupt
many
theme.
occasions.
That's what's happening,
We
right?
have this one major request. Please order this retreat and get down the mountain now. Tim shouted above the noise of the weapons. Trust us, Optimus. Trust us. We're not cowards.
Frat?
We're no more frightened of the Decepticons than you are. Trust us. Optimus Prime looked at them both. I trust you completely, and it would be insulting not to trust you now. And then, to the surprise and even the shock of the Autobots, he ordered them to retreat as quickly as possible down the volcano's slopes. The Autobots could hardly believe their ears, but all had complete faith in their leader. Then
Is this their
Optimus
first
Prime
ever
said,
tactical
Sideswipe,
retreat?
you
This
cover
is-
our retreat. When you know we are halfway down, come down and join us. Understood, Sideswipe replied. Then each Autobot fired a final burst at their enemies and clambered down the steep slope. Never thought we would ever run away, Huffer grumbled. Optimus Prime quietly said, John and Tim asked us to trust them. Do you or don't you? Huffer said, Yes, of course I do, but... Then do what the leader ordered and don't grumble, Jazz commented. None of us want to retreat, but orders are orders. They clambered on down, and after a while the noise of the firing weapons became fainter, and then stopped, and they were joined by Sideswipe. They know we have retreated, he said. Meanwhile, the Decepticon group were both angry and delighted. Laserbeak had reported that the Autobots had retreated completely. I always suspected that their leader was a coward, sneered Megatron. Rumble nodded.
Perhaps so, great Megatron, but I never thought I would see our enemy give in as easily as that.
Skywarp said, Can't we go after them and finish them off? Starscream, who was looking at the great boiling crater, commented, We have plenty of time for that later, Megatron. Look at the force and power here. This is what they were after. Megatron joined him. I wonder if they were finding a way to harness it. That is why I didn't want the Earth creatures killed. By retreating like that, they have played into our hands. We are in possession of this power source, and we can capture some other Earth
What's that
people
noise?
who know about it, and... He stopped speaking.
That rumbling noise.
What was
That isn't
that?
rumble.
What, oh great Megatron?
Rumble asked. A noise down there in that deep bubbling hole. I heard it too, said Soundwave. In fact, I have been
Why
hearing
is
it ever
Soundwave
since we got
whispering?
here. What is it? Suddenly, they knew the answer. In one almighty roar, the crater exploded. Fire and flame burst up into the sky. Great rocks flew out like pebbles, rocks big enough and forceful enough to even knock down the great powerful Decepticons. A gigantic, foaming, hideous mass of molten lava gushed up and spilled over the crater's edge. The Decepticons were taken completely unawares. Only Laserbeak, who had been flying, tracing the retreat of the Autobots, escaped. The Decepticons were knocked over and tumbled fast halfway down the side of the volcano, and before they could
Let's finish
transform,
them off,
the
said
boiling
Optimus.
lava had trapped them and held them prisoner.
Any creatures other than those from Cybertron would have perished instantly, but the Decepticons just shouted in anger as the lava held them trapped.
Laserbeak saw their plight and came flying over. Megatron shouted, We have been trapped! We can't move! Get back to the fortress and bring all the help you can, quick! Go on, go! And as Laserbeak sped back for assistance, the Autobots far below saw the plight of their enemies. Optimus Prime turned to John and Tim.
Thank you both.
And then he turned to all the other Autobots.
Always trust true friends, whether from our planet or this one. On our way. Transform!
And with John and Tim once more in Huffer's cab, they continued on their way. But they couldn't resist giving some triumphant blasts on their horns at the Decepticons, who were trapped high above in the cooling lava and unable to move, while furiously awaiting rescue teams from Decepticon headquarters.
So that's it. They just decide to just, hey, our foes were defeated and we can make sure they're done for good. But let's just
Yep.
go home instead.
Just go home, like some of the other media, where it's like, well, we won the day. Well, you don't need to do anything else.
Yeah, no, that's it. Go home, take a nap.
Don't even go laugh at them or anything. It's like, thanks, human.
I was just like, what was with all this suspense and build up? All they had to do was say, hey, Optimus, we need to get the F out of Dodge here because it's about to explode.
Oh, yeah.
They just keep bothering him over and over again to the point that he just snaps and goes,
He's
what,
like-
humans?
He's
What do
like,
you want?
No, let's just walk down the mountain. Just come on. Let's just leave. Don't you want to go down and get away from this mountain? But don't say anything about why.
Unless they said, the Decepticons can hear our every word, and that's why, but that was never indicated. So
that was an episode.
That seemed like a bit
Okay.
much for, like, I don't know. I guess
So
it seems like a bit much for, like, kids. Like, because it was really verbose and it was definitely using some words that I feel like would definitely go over a kid's head.
Also, like, but if it is for kids, I mean, I'm assuming this is definitely a low budget production, but like,
one guy was
Oh.
doing like 20 voices.
yeah, and I mean, I feel bad for him. Yeah, you have to have 20 voices to do all of that, but yeah, like they weren't different sounding enough half the time to where I'm just like, who is talking right now?
Yeah. And I wish he would say so and so said first before he would say it after, like he did most of the time.
Yeah. It's said a lot.
Let's talk about the voices first off. Did any of them stand out to you? Because I made 3 comments here.
I actually liked Dumb Starscream since that's so iconic.
The Starscream voice didn't sound right. The voice that he used for Skywarp sounded more like a Starscream voice.
Skywarp sounded like a Smurf, is what I put in my notes.
That's
The other voice that kind of just stood out was Jazz. He just sounded like some kind of like Beatles hippie. It was just weird.
It was so funny every time he talked. Even though it wasn't like a good voice, it made me laugh.
Yeah, that voice in particular just made me just think was like, yeah, you have to voice a lot of voices and you're just using whatever you got. It doesn't make any sense. It's just like, this is all I can do. What can I do? There's nothing else.
Yeah. They just threw him in the booth and was like, here you go.
Yeah, I kind of got that vibe with John and Tim, the really traditional sounding South American character names. Those two also sounded like this is what I have left. Like, I'm going to use the more interesting voices for the Autobots and the Decepticons, but John and Tim, you just get, here's American 1 and American 2. Even though they're supposed to be South Americans.
And I actually kind of liked Huffer's voice that he'd used for it, even though it sounded more like it would fit with Ironhide's voice.
Yeah, I think Huffer's voice kind of matches up a bit. Relative to the other ones, that one was fit just fine. Megatron sounded fine as well.
Megatron sounded like the narrator.
I didn't really like his dialogue, but
yeah.
And Optimus, he just sounded like generic hero.
I do want to make a comment on the narrator's voice. Like, it bothers me that like 95% of his lines all ended on like a down note. Like, when you're talking, it ends sloping down. I don't know how to explain that. But anyways, it made it sound so monotonous. Because you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, he didn't add any life into the story, really.
Like, you can add life too without acting like an episode. Like, if you listen to any other audiobook, the way that they say the lines with inflection and annotations and spacing, like, gives it life without it being monotonous. Anyways,
yeah,
I just finished 5 chapters of an audiobook, so I'm like super critical.
Tell us what you really feel.
No, I think you're spot on, Sammy, because I definitely got a monotonous vibe from him, and even if he wasn't yeah, I mean, to not be monotonous, you would have to show some kind of emotion, but he didn't show any. Like, it's a kid's audiobook about robots fighting and volcanoes blowing up, but there didn't seem to be any type of excitement or emotion behind it. It was just, here is a statement about a thing that's happened.
Here are facts. The volcano will explode.
Do you remember the other one we listened to before, like the continents collide and all that, and just how like crazy the voices were, and like the narrator actually stood out a little bit more?
It's also better to overact than it is to underact. So even I would have appreciated something.
Yeah, I just listening to it, you don't really feel a whole lot. I mean, most of my what made it more interesting was just the fact that some of the other criticism I had about just, that's a weird voice for this character. It wasn't really anything about what is actually going on.
Why was Megatron's plan not, and I even drew a diagram of this, Autobots are standing at the top of a volcano, why don't you come around where they're standing and shoot them so they fall in the volcano? And then later he's like, come around the opposite direction. I was like, no, you knocked them down the hill. What kind of battle strategy are you using?
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense. There was one line where it made sense why he didn't do that. Well, the Autobots didn't know, so it makes sense that the the Decepticons also didn't know, because Megatron was saying that he basically didn't understand like what they were doing. He's like, why is that mountain shooting off steam? He didn't know what a volcano was, even though both the Autobots and the Transformers walked out of a volcano.
Yeah.
Nobody doing their research here.
And what is this? Yeah, the volcano erupted for like, what, 5 seconds? I actually looked it up while we were listening to it, and most volcanoes the least time they usually last is 24 hours. There have been incidents of smaller volcanoes lasting a little bit less than 24 hours, but never any
Yeah.
like 5 minutes.
Yeah, usually those smaller ones, they aren't really as devastating. So this one is definitely unique in that I guess it was massive, like it was a massive explosion, but then was over immediately.
Here, I'm gonna ask Google if okay. Can you cause a volcano to erupt by shooting missiles at it?
What?
This is a very normal question.
Because I'm just like, it seemed according to the plot that the volcano just erupted by sheer coincidence while they were there. But it never said due to the missiles or anything like that. I'm just like, I feel like it was just coincidence. But now I'm just thinking,
Oh, because they were having the battle on top of it, so did not like accelerate it.
in the Transformers episode, there was that one time where they stopped the volcano by just shooting rocks to stop fall into the volcano and stop it
Yeah,
from
to fill
erupting.
the hole. Yeah,
Which is
that was
totally not
dumb.
realistic. So now I'm
Yeah.
wondering if it's realistic or unrealistic to shoot a ton of missiles at a volcano to cause it to erupt.
Well, considering the track record of Transformers and all the forums we've listened and watched, it's probably not realistic.
Well, here we go. A volcanology class where a guy actually tells you what to do if you're a mad scientist who wants to cause a volcano to erupt. No, a bomb has to be inside the volcano directly to cause it to explode. You can't do it from the outside. Though no one has ever actually tried this in reality, and this is all hypothetical.
All right, that's good to know. I'll make sure when I visit Hawaii, I'll just have a couple of bombs with me.
Don't say that.
When I fly on a 757 to Hawaii with my pair of bombs.
Oh my god.
Drop on the
Oh my God,
volcano to
FBI
make
is gonna
test
be
it out
knocking
all
on my
the way.
door in a second or two.
50 years later, someone's gonna like bring this up, being like, "Yeah, he threatened to pull a bomb on the volcano."
He said he was gonna destroy Hawaii.
It was all for science, because we wanted to prove this cartoon like incorrect. I didn't know it would really happen.
To all you folks
Uh-huh.
out there, please don't destroy any volcanoes. Thank you. We are not responsible.
I think that's hilarious. There's actually an article about telling you how to do it if you're a mad scientist bent on world domination from Wired magazine. Just probably trying to get, interesting articles for people to read at the website. Also, I like how, Optimus had faith in his comrades, even though he was irritated so much. He's like, what do you guys want? Oh, trust? Oh, okay, yeah, I guess I trust you guys. Complete
Yeah,
emotional
whatever.
switch, like bipolar Optimus, but at least, he has faith in his human and all his companions.
He's just gonna murder them later. It's all a show.
I just wanted to see Optimus stand at the bottom of the volcano and said, "Look, the Decepticons are trapped. Let's go finish them off." Because they're just stuck in there. The last cartoon we watched, the Autobots were all stuck in quicksand, and just Megatron just leaves and says, we'll let the quicksand drag them down, and we'll leave only Laserbeak to watch."
Makes sense.
This is like the same thing happening in reverse this time, only with, being stuck in volcano. That, oh my god, did that volcano stuff harden immediately, right?
Yeah, I mean the way it sounded like, pretty much.
So, did you guys hear the narrator call Starscream Starscreech?
Yeah, I think he did mess up a couple of names in there. So yeah, that I don't know if I heard that one, but that doesn't surprise me.
He was trying his best, okay? He doesn't know what a GoBot is. I'm sorry.
But I love this line. Like, it's almost like the writer knows the cartoon series, because he's like, "You're even more miserable than Huffer, if that's possible." And as he says this to Gears, and I'm like, oh my god, this is hilarious. Sorry, because Gears and Huffer are both awful, and then one is purposely calling one of them more awful than the other. I mean, Gears is like really irritating and annoying because he's kind of a little tough of himself sometimes and complains all the time. But Huffer complains, but is also like down about it. Like completely the opposite of how Gears complains. He's like, "Oh man, we ain't gonna make it. I guess I better kill myself." Yeah.
Why do they appear so often? Like There's so many Autobots. Why do they always appear?
I think they forget about Gears and Huffer by the time season 2 comes out. I hope.
Good. I mean, they're dumb. Like, what do they do? They
I still can't believe you have Spider-Man team up with one Autobot, and it's freaking Gears for one issue of the comic. Thanks. That was the crossover extravaganza I was always hoping for. But that's me going off on a tangent. So were you excited to see Gears and Huffer in this story, Sammy?
Oh no, I couldn't care less.
It sounds like
As I said, the least important Autobots were there.
I heard Jazz, Huffer, and Optimus. I think Gears only had 2 lines. I didn't even really hear like Sideswiper and Sunstreak.
They were there in the background.
they
Look,
had.
he ran out of
those-
voices.
Yeah,
And
those two
Ratchet
had
never
like one or
spoke.
two. Ratchet, He wasn't there, was he?
No, he was there.
He was there.
He said,
Oh.
and then they mentioned Hound, but he doesn't actually talk. But then when it came to the Decepticons, I remember Skywarp, Starscream, Megatron, and then Rumble, because Rumble has a deep voice despite being the smallest Decepticon.
The Decepticons definitely seem like they got an even distribution of lines. I felt like with the Autobots, Jazz talked a lot with this beatnik voice.
What'd you think of the humans? South American. I don't know how to describe what he was going for with the both of them, but Tim's voice was pretty awful.
When he was first getting ready to introduce them and was going on with such a long sentence to describe just 2 humans, I thought he was getting ready to say Sparkplug and Spike, but then he just drops Tim. Tim and John.
I know.
Yep. We couldn't come up with anything else.
I wonder if the other cassettes in the series are going to have different human characters.
I guess that would be interesting. At least it would be interesting, but I hope that they're interesting.
Unlike these that had no personality. There could have been one in the story and it wouldn't have mattered.
I look forward to seeing if it's the same narrator, if he keeps the voices in line.
I do have this. This is the only adventure that the Gordon brothers ever appear in. They are not in the other 3 cassette adventures.
Oh, they were brothers?
So they did kill him.
But yeah, no, it's probably the same narrator, I'm assuming. But I guess we'll cross that space bridge when we get to it.
So on the next time on Sparkcast.
Bumblebee something. Bumblebee to the rescue. Oh my god, that's the same title as one of the coloring books. That's not going to cause any confusion. Make sure to go to discogs.com and order this audio cassette for $4.
Wow, it's such a deal.
Or you could just go and download it for free at the site I always say.
Google.com.
The site I always say every time I record one of these episodes for images, which I'm blanking right now. Wow. Oh yeah, camphortree.com has all these on it. So anyway, we hope you enjoyed this look at Audio Cassette Adventure, UK/Europe edition. Signing off for today, I am don't have any interesting Transformers thing to add to my name, Sean. And signing off also are my other co-hosts.
Gao Sammy? Gao me?
Gao me.
I tried. That's all terrible.
Gao Ming. That's her name.
I
Gao
was so-
Ming.
I think it said Samagar the first time, and I was trying to flip it around, so the Gao instead of Gao Gai Gar. It's dumb. Continue. Insert some dumb combination name here.
And this is
My name's Thomas. Just
he's like, don't kill those humans. Even though, like, in one of the other books, he's like, we can just kill all those slaves. Kaboom.
We just watched that 3-part episode where he decided that Cybertron was more important than Earth. All those people died, and we saw that one city that was completely empty. That was millions of people right there. He's a
No,
murderer.
they were in the bomb shelters. They all survived. They
Oh
got
yeah,
unit.
right. Yep. He didn't hesitate one bit. He had flashbacks of when those humans were throwing rocks and screwdrivers at him.
We're signing off for today, and we'll see you next time, which I already said. Bye.
Bye.